In April, the New York Mets had the best pitching staff in baseball, but now, due to injuries, that staff is in flux. How will the Mets reinvent themselves in May? We'll talk about that and more on today's show.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, the Mets are coming off a tough-fought series against the Arizona Diamondbacks where they had opportunities to win both of those last two games, but came up short in both. For the first time since July of last year, they lost consecutive games at Citi Field, which is just an absurd stat. They also, for the first time this year, lost a series at home. If you missed it, I did a live stream right after the game yesterday. So if you want my breakdown on how the Mets lost to Zach Gallen, Juan Soto hitting his first couple of home runs at Citi Field as a Met, all that good stuff, you can find that on your podcast feed or on our YouTube channel here. But today I want to talk about the month of May and how the Mets are going to evolve this month, because they had a remarkable string of success in April, particularly with their pitching staff, the best staff in all of baseball. It was across the board. The starting pitchers, having the best ERA in baseball as a unit, the bullpen being right up there, incredible performances out of guys that you wouldn't have expected to have this much success, like Huascar Brazaban and Max Kranick, and obviously Reed Garrett had a great month and finally gave up a run when he allowed a homer yesterday. But overall, this staff has been awesome. Yet, over the past week, we have seen a huge change from what was a singular, concise unit of a 5-man rotation and the same 8-man bullpen throughout the first 3 weeks of the season and change. And then AJ Minter goes down, then Danny Young goes down. Now this bullpen's without a lefty, and suddenly every single day there's a transaction after there really wasn't one for a majority of this season. The Mets are just constantly cycling these arms up from Syracuse to just try to get by. Ty Adcock and Genesis Cabrera were the two guys that we watched pitch yesterday. Who knows if they're going to stick around? Yet the one complaint that I saw a lot of after the game yesterday, and I think I'm seeing more frequently, is the complaint among Mets fans that this rotation is not going deep enough into games. And Kodai Senga only going 4 innings was obviously the latest example of that. Now, Senga had been pretty good before that outing as far as going deep into games. Let me actually look up start by start on Senga, because I feel like he's getting a pretty rough bit of criticism for only going 4 when apparently he was sick this week too. He did a great job going across the tightrope and having 2 innings where he loaded the bases and was able to navigate, only giving up 1 run. I thought he was fine in that game, only giving up 1 run on 5 hits and 4 innings pitched. You look at his starts this year, first 2 he did only go 5, but he was only at 77 pitches each time. Didn't really have much more than that he could have given. He threw 7 innings on 79 pitches. Pitched into the 6th inning, went 5 2/3, went 6 innings the next time, and then this time it was a shorter outing. I don't think Senga's been the issue, and I think also we forget that the beginning of the season, these starting pitchers don't enter the year in midseason form. A lot of these guys start off at maybe 75, 85 pitches, and they got to build up to 100. They got to build up to be able to go to 110, 115 in a start, and a lot of guys don't even get that luxury anymore anyway. This is how the game is played. So I wanted to look back at last year and say, all right, where were the Mets last season when it came to their starting rotation? Because their rotation carried them last season in a way that this rotation shouldn't have to, because the bullpen is better. You look at what they did in April last year. Jose Quintana was averaging 5.6 innings per start. That's really good, right? That's better than anything we're seeing from this Mets staff right now. Luis Severino, 5.8. So those two guys were absolutely eating up innings. Jose Budo, 5.5 innings per start across 4 starts. Adrian Hauser, 4.7. Sean Manaea, 4.8. So they had 2 guys who weren't giving any length, 3 guys that were. You put it all together, it was 5.2 innings per start for the Mets staff in April last year. They pitched to a 3.95 ERA. This year, every single guy is averaging about 5 innings a start. And so when you look at the composite average and you put them all together, it's 5.1 innings per start. So they really aren't that different than last year when it comes to how many innings that they're eating. But the ERA is drastically different. It's a 2.24 ERA for the Mets staff this year. So I just don't understand how anybody can criticize this rotation right now. They will build up. They will give more length as the season goes on. Clay Holmes is making a transition to being a starting pitcher. He wasn't going to come out firing 7 innings every time. I mean, that just wasn't realistic. Tyler McGill is a guy that hasn't been able to, throughout his career for the most part, face the lineup 3 times through. It's going to take a bit to earn that trust, and I think he's getting there. Griffin Canning is a veteran pitcher that, said his last time out, he wants to go deeper into games, and I think he will eventually, and David Peterson has still shown that ability. And Kodai Senga, yes, he's only going to pitch once a week. He's going on 5 days rest every time. There's no reason to think that this one start where he goes 4 innings was an isolated incident, and he won't be back to going 6, 7 innings moving forward. So I think this staff is completely fine. You look at last year, the progression month over month. In May, they went from 5.2 innings per start to 5.4. In June, it was back down to 5.3. July, it ramped up to 5.6. August, 5.7 innings per start. And then by the end of the season, the staff as a whole for the Mets was up to 5.9 innings per start. So they built month over month over month. I think the same thing is going to hold true for this current Mets staff. I don't think there's any reason to play with it, although they are going to need a spot starter, and it sounds like they're going to plug a spot starter in on Sunday. I'm doing the math here. I'm looking at Syracuse, and I think Blade Tidwell, one of the Mets' top prospects, is potentially set to make his MLB debut on Sunday, because I don't know who else it will be. I really don't. Justin Hagenman just went on the 7-day IL in Syracuse for a finger injury. So I don't think he's going to be good. Brandon Waddle wouldn't be able to pitch based on rest and is not going to be able to come right back up after being optioned. He needs to be down for 15 days unless he gets called up due to an injury. Outside of those guys, who else can make a start? Brandon Sproat pitched this week. He pitched on, was it Wednesday? Wednesday, went 4 1/3, allowed 5 hits, 2 earned runs, hit 2 batters, walked 2, struck out 4. So not a horrible start, not a great one, but he's obviously not going to be good to go. Dom Hamill pitched this week. I don't think that they really think he would survive in the big leagues. So all roads sort of lead to Blade Tidwell making his debut, which is going to be exciting potentially on Sunday to see him get added to the 40-man roster and make one start. I think this is a guy that could absolutely be a weapon for the Mets out of the bullpen at some point this season if they ever decide to shorten him up. I think right now it makes all the sense in the world to keep him in that Syracuse rotation, keep building him up, seeing how he can develop, because ideally he's another guy that could be in your rotation mix as soon as next season. But a spot start now makes a lot of sense. His last 2 starts have been pretty good. He struck out 9 in consecutive starts. He has a 5 ERA in the season, but 37 strikeouts in 27 innings. He's had 3 starts where he's given up 4 runs. The other 3 starts, he's been much better. I think he is a fine guy to take a flyer on Sunday and see what happens. And the whole point of that is setting up both your rotation and your bullpen moving forward. It is setting the stage for Dedniel Nunez to come up, and I'll talk about that more in the next segment. But what the Mets would be doing here is they're going to go Clay Holmes tonight, Tyler McGill on Saturday. It's TBD on Sunday, so that is where I think Tidwell slides in. They could start Canning on 5 days rest on Sunday, but I think what they want to do is they want to get that spot start out of the way so that for the rest of the month, they can lean into a 5-man rotation, the same rotation they've had all season. Canning would start on Monday, Peterson on Tuesday, Senga on Wednesday. Then you have an off day. You have off days on every single Thursday this month, which means you will not need a 6 starter spot for Kodai Senga for the rest of the month. You can just roll from there, assuming all your other guys can pitch on 4 days rest. Clay Holmes hasn't yet. He would have to do that coming up here. It wouldn't be this upcoming week. It might be the following, or it would be like 2 weeks from now. He would have to make a start on 4 days rest. You could always flip him and Tyler McGill, but then that would just be delaying the inevitable on that. But if they can have Holmes, McGill, Canning, and Peterson each make 1 start this month on 4 days rest, then they can have a 5-man rotation for the rest of this month. And I don't think they have to touch it because this rotation has been awesome this year. Albeit, sure, you'd like them to go a little bit longer in games, but a 2.24 ERA from a staff, that's remarkable. So I don't think this rotation really needs to change anything. I think Blade Tidwell makes a spot start and you roll with the 5-man rotation until you get Blackburn, Montas, and Mania back potentially next month. I will say, as far as creating a roster spot for Tidwell, the Mets could transfer Ronnie Mauricio, Jose Siri, or Danny Young to the 60-day IL. I don't think any of them is necessarily going to make an impact where transferring them would matter. Mauricio, maybe, but you would backdate that to the start of the season. So I don't even think it would matter to slide him over. Danny Young, he could need Tommy John, so they're probably going to make that designation at some point anyway, unless they get a positive diagnosis soon. And Jose Siri, I think it was a 2-month timetable anyway. So they'll be able to make room for Tidwell if that's the move. But I don't think they have to change anything with this rotation. I expect these guys will get better and will pitch deeper into games. It's just a matter of how do you keep that bullpen rolling with the injuries they've suffered. I want to talk about that a little bit in the next segment. When will Dedniel Nunez get into the fold? I think we finally have a clear picture on that. So we'll talk about all of that and more in the next segment. First, though, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and then you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV, where you can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. If you already have a console, the Fire TV Stick is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Help us get closer to our next goal of 14,000 subscribers. Now let's talk about this Mets bullpen. No Danny Young, no AJ Minter. They potentially have their lefty in place right now. Genesis Cabrera came up. This is a guy that's had a lot of big league success, not a ton of success this year in AAA. He also got banged around a bit after a good start to spring training with the Mets, but he's got a high-octane fastball, good slider. I mean, there's the makings of a really nice pitcher here because of a rough first outing where he gave up, 1 run and only got 1 out. He's got an ERA of 27 right now in the season. But if you go back to last year, he pitched to a 3.59 ERA in 62 and 2/3 innings pitched with the Blue Jays. Year before, between the Cardinals and the Blue Jays, he had a 4.04 ERA, had a 5.06 with the Cardinals, got moved to the Blue Jays and pitched to a 2.66 ERA in 23 and 2/3. I think this might be a guy that's not going to be going through that constant shuffle that we've seen the Mets have lately of just bringing guys up for a day. I think he might stick around. We will see. The other option they have in AAA is Anthony Gassé, but ultimately with this Mets bullpen, there's 6 arms that are going to be there that you trust right now for the most part. Edwin Diaz, Reed Garrett, Ryan Stanek. Those are your late inning relievers. Obviously, Stanek has had a rough week, but they still trust that he's got good stuff and he's going to be a big part of this bullpen. Max Kranick, Huascar Brazaban, and Jose Budo have been outstanding as far as multi-inning relievers. Budo, obviously, I take some exception with his ability to pitch with runners on, but if they give him clean innings, he has been really good this year. And I think Kranick and Brazaban have earned the right to pitch and leverage. So from that perspective, the Mets have 6 arms that I feel pretty good about. It's a matter of finding particularly the replacement for AJ Minter in late inning situations that allows you to keep Kranick and Brazaban in roles that they have really thrived in. And that's where Dedniel Nunez can hopefully fill that void. But why are the Mets being so hesitant to call on him? They've called on Ty Adcock, Chris Davinsky, Jose Urena, all these different guys after Minter went down, and it has not been Nunez. I think what Carlos Mendoza talked about prior to the game, what I've been talking about on this show throughout the past week here, is the Mets want to make sure when they call up Dedniel Nunez, they don't have to option him because they need to get Blade Tidwell up for a day. So they want to get through that last spot start before this stretch where they won't need a spot start to keep Kodai Senga on his extra rest. So once you have Tidwell start on Sunday, now you free up that 6th starter spot in the rotation slash guy that is eating away at your bullpen. Instead, you can go to Dedniel Nunez and give him the month of May as some leash to see what he has. He has not been great this year. He did pitch on Thursday, got 4 outs, came in with a couple runners on, relieving Joander Suarez, and he ended up giving up a couple of hits, allowed the inherited runners to score, but he ultimately didn't give up any runs on his ledger. And it's minor leagues too, but he has a 3.48 ERA in the season, a whip of 2, which is very concerning. He's given up a lot of hits, 10 games pitched, 10 1/3 innings pitched, and 14 hits allowed, walked 7. So he has not been the dominant guy that he was last year in AAA, which led to coming up to the big leagues where he was dominant as well. But I keep talking about the adrenaline of pitching in the big leagues, pitching in high leverage. I still have confidence that Nunez is going to come up and he's going to be the guy that we saw last year. And if he is, I think that settles this bullpen a lot where you don't have to go out and make the acquisition of a David Robertson like I talked about on yesterday's show, or try to acquire a reliever from another team that's thriving in the minor leagues. If Nunez can settle that high leverage spot, and if Genesis Cabrera can settle the left-handed reliever spot, well, that's your bullpen for a little bit, and you could be fine for a while. So I think those are the two options that the Mets are maybe leaning towards right now to complete this bullpen. They still have Ty Adcock on the roster, but they could certainly option him after his rough outing. They could bring up Tyler Zuber or Austin Warren, who are both on the 40 over the next couple days. They could have those guys pitch in St. Louis if they need them to. And then they bring up Blade Tidwell. And once Tidwell makes that spot start, assuming that actually happens, then you can go to Dedniel Nunez and hopefully keep a bullpen stable for a little bit after that. So I think that's where the Mets are right now with their bullpen. It's a unit that has been great this year that lost a huge piece in AJ Minter, and they have to fill that void. But if Nunez can be the guy who was last year, he will fill that void to a certain extent. You still have the questions about a left-handed reliever in your bullpen. Maybe Brooks Raley's the answer once he can come off the IL. And maybe Cabrera can solidify that spot for a little bit in between. You never know how things are going to transpire. It could be Cabrera gone tomorrow or today as you guys are listening to this, for all I know. But for now, I think that's where this team's at. One interesting note, Brett Beatty was a late scratch from the Syracuse Mets lineup on Thursday night. Don't know what that's about. It could be one of 3 things. One thing is he's hurt or he was sick, so that's why he was scratched. The second thing is somebody on the Mets roster is hurt and set to hit the IL. Don't know who that could be. Starlin Marte didn't play in this game just because it was Jesse Winker's day at the DH spot. Could Marte be hurt? The Mets can't just bring him back and send Azekar down, so I don't think that's the case. Is Nimmo under the weather after the game? And maybe I really don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on that would necessitate Beatty coming back, but those are the 2 most likely outcomes. Either somebody is hurt on the Mets roster, and that's why he's coming back, or he's hurt or under the weather. That's why he was scratched from the Syracuse lineup. The third possibility is maybe he is being floated in trade talks for a reliever. I just don't know if the Mets are going to try to make a reliever splash at this stage of the season. And I don't know why that splash would necessarily come from the trade market and be a reliever that would require Beatty going back the other way. You could say, well, what value does Beatty bring to the table? I would say exactly on both fronts of that, where what is he going to get you right now that is going to make that big of an impact? And why get rid of him when you still have some questions at the third base position? Mark Vientos has not been great this year. I don't think Beatty is a bad fallback plan at third base or second base for the Mets. I don't really think that it's worth giving up a contingency plan because he doesn't have enough trade value to go out and get you the closer. Like, it's not going to be Brett Beatty getting traded for Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. It's not going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happened with Beatty. I'll keep you updated if we learn anything tomorrow. Maybe it was just he was a little bit under the weather, had a stomach bug, and couldn't play the game. But definitely an interesting thing that happened. And so I'll be curious if that is another roster move that we could see coming up for this series against the Cardinals. But what I want to do to close out the show is preview that series. Are the Mets going to get back on track against a team who has been unbelievable at home this season? We'll talk about it in just a minute. If you're an everyday listener to the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you can update to me anytime news breaks on the Mets. You can ask me questions anytime. You can also take part in our Locked On Mets sign photo giveaways, and you get a lineup graphic sent to your phone each day so you know who's in the starting lineup without ever having to go on social media. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, find the link in the episode description or go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. Now, the last time the Mets saw the St. Louis Cardinals, it was at home for a 4-game set in a series that the Mets swept. So a lot of success against them. Can they repeat in St. Louis? Turns out it might be a tougher task because the Cardinals are much better at home this year than the road. They're 10-5 when they play at Busch. They are 4-13 on the road. After playing the Mets, they went into Atlanta. They lost a 3-game set. They came home. They won a 3-game set, beating up the Brewers. They then just hit the road this week to face the Reds for a 4-gamer, and they split that 4-game series, taking the middle 2 games while the Reds took the first and the last game of the series. Overall, this is a team that has a frisky lineup, has a not so great rotation, and a bullpen that has a couple of nice pieces. But overall, one that you can get to. I think the Mets still have the edge, but again, this is a Cardinals team that has played very well at home, so I don't expect them to roll over. I think that they will give the Mets a pretty good series here. We're going to watch a rematch in Game 1 tonight. Sonny Gray versus Clay Holmes. Holmes won this matchup the last time these guys squared off on April 20th. Holmes went 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 4 hits and 2 walks with 6 strikeouts, one of his best starts of the year. Sonny Gray gave up 3 runs on 6 hits and a walk. Francisco Lindor homered off of him. Pete Alonso had an RBI single. Juan Soto had a sacrifice fly, and the Mets obviously won that game. So it'll be good to see a really nice pitching matchup to open things up. That is an ace going for the Cardinals and a guy that has pitched very well this year for the Mets. Game 2, another guy that's been great for the Mets this year, Tyler McGill versus Eric Fetty. McGill's coming off what I would argue is his best start of the year, even though he gave up the 3 runs. But 2 of those runs came in after McGill had left the game, thanks to Jose Budo. But McGill pitched into the 7th inning for the first time, and he struck out 9. All of a sudden, the strikeouts are coming in bunches for McGill, who just has nasty stuff. He did not pitch against the Cardinals in that other series, so they're going to see him for the first time, and it's a new and improved version of Tyler McGill. So I am very curious to see how he fares against this Cardinals team. Can he maintain that sub-2 ERA? It's currently sitting at 1.74. Meanwhile, another guy that didn't pitch in that 4-game set, Eric Fetty, will go. He has been up and down this year. He's made 4 quality starts where he has allowed a total of 4 runs in those starts and gone exactly 6 innings each time. His other 2 starts have been pretty bad. One against the Red Sox where he gave up 6 runs. It was knocked out after 3 innings pitched. His last start was bad as well. He allowed 7 runs on 10 hits, 5 2/3 innings pitched. Fetty is a guy the Mets should be able to hit, but he's also a guy that can get into a really good rhythm and pitch to contact and find his way through 6 strong innings. Before you look up, you're losing and you're facing off against the Cardinals bullpen late with a, unfortunate situation where you could lose a game. So Fetty, not an easy matchup. I'd say he's definitely easier than Sonny Gray is, but a guy that can certainly put a quality start on you. Game 3 of this series, TBD on the Mets side, as I talked about earlier. I think Blade Tidwell could make this start. He'll be going up against, or somebody will be going up against, Andre Pallante. Pallante pitched in that series against the Mets, the 4-gamer. He allowed 4 runs on 7 hits, gave up a solo homer to Mark Vientos. That led off what became a 4-run inning. Starling Marte hit a double. Brett Beatty and Tyrone Taylor each singled. Francisco Lindor singled as well. You remember that was the play where Lindor got caught in the middle and it allowed Tyrone Taylor to score to cap off that 4-run inning. That was all against Andre Pallante, who outside of that was pretty good. He didn't have another inning that was bad in that start, and he went pretty deep in that game. So I think that Pallante is a guy the Mets have proven they can hit, but also, he has a chance to put a good start on you as well. So I think the Mets are going to have, their hands full going up against a team that has had a lot of success at home this year with a great lineup. Brendan Donovan was at bat that was bringing me nightmares for those 4 games where every single time he came up, you thought he was going to do something. He's still rolling, so that's a guy that you have to be very careful around. But we'll see. We'll see how the Mets fare in this one. This is going to conclude, or this road trip is going to conclude a brutal stretch for the Mets where they've played, or they will have played 26 games in 27 days, one off day in between. And that's been it. I mean, just a grind for this team, playing 13 games, getting an off day, then 13 straight games again. The Mets are just trying to survive it. It's 3 in St. Louis, 3 in Arizona. Then you get a day off, but then the Cubs come into town. So overall, it's going to be a 10-game stretch where this team is really challenged. The Phillies are 3.5 games back in the division. The Braves are 6 games back. You want to maintain that lead. And so you got to just put together really good stretches of 10 games at a time. Can the Mets go through this and win 6 games at least? Can they win all 3 series? I mean, that would be the most ideal thing, but actually it might be a 9-game stretch that I'm talking about. I don't know if the Cubs series is a 4-gamer, so more of a 9-game stretch instead of a 10-game stretch. Let me make sure I'm right about that. Yeah, it is a 3-gamer. It's a 3-gamer against the Cubs, and then the Pirates come into town before the Mets would hit the road again, square off against the Yankees for the first time. That's going to be fun. And the Red Sox and the Dodgers. So this is going to be a tough month for the Mets. They'll close it out with a couple of nice series. They'll close it out with the White Sox and the Rockies before they'll play the Dodgers again in June. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going all schedule talk on you. But this is going to be a tough road trip for the Mets. There's no doubt about it. They're still trying to piece together this bullpen. They're still trying to figure out what combination is going to work in this lineup. Tyrone Taylor's been playing some good baseball. How do you work him, Jeff McNeil, and Luis Angel Acuna in there all at once? If somebody goes down right now, that might open up opportunities. If there's one of the DHs that goes down, or if it's Brandon Nimmo that goes down and Beatty comes back, that could open the door for some other guys to get more playing time. I think this lineup is on the cusp of really starting to break out in a big way. Juan Soto with the 2-home-run game, that is a great sign. And Soto is a guy that can go out on a road trip and he can carry you. He can carry you to a winning road trip single-handedly. That is how good he can be offensively. You still have Alonso and Lindor swinging good bats. I think Vientos and Nimmo are trending in a better direction. I know they had a pretty frustrating last couple of games, aside from Vientos' home run, but they came up in crucial spots and didn't come through and sort of led to that series loss. But I still am encouraged by what they can provide. I'm still encouraged by the at-bats Jeff McNeil is having lately in that lineup. And I just think overall the Mets are right on the cusp of turning it on offensively. And maybe that is to offset the pitching, regressing back to the mean. It can go both ways. The Mets might start to win differently in May than they did in April. It might be more of a team that is bashing their way to victories. And that's a lot of fun to watch. So we'll see how the Mets fare going up against the Cardinals this weekend. I will be there with you the whole way through. Actually, as I say that, I may not have a show on Sunday. We are taking a little family trip. Both of my parents are turning 60 this year. They are snowbirds now, where they go out over the summer and spend their summers in Chicago, where my sister has her kids and everything. So they won't be here for their birthdays. So we're taking them on a little trip. So I will be gone on Saturday, and I will have my laptop. So depending on the game, you never know how the night goes. I might still record an audio-only podcast on Sunday, but there is a chance I won't. I will definitely have a show for you for Saturday morning. I'm going to be home all day today, so I will definitely crank out at least one more show for your weekend. That'll go live on Saturday morning, and then we'll just see what's going to happen on Sunday. I appreciate all of you for tuning in to the show today, and continue to subscribe and be faithful listeners of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, do please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast feed, follow, rate, review, wherever you get your podcast. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow me on social media, Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, find a link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen, your first watch every day, not for your second watch. Check out Locked On MLB Game Night, where we break down everything going on in Major League Baseball across the league with analysis from all of our local hosts and a couple hosts that will take you across the journey. Locked On MLB Game Night is on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel and the Locked On MLB podcast feed.